The slap came out of nowhere. 1 second I was walking through the open-plan floor of Apex Media with a stack of revised campaign files under my arm, nodding politely at coworkers, and the next, crack, my cheek exploded in stinging heat. The sound ricocheted off the glass walls like a gunshot. Every head in the marketing department snapped toward us. I stumbled back a step, more from shock than force, my files scattering across the polished floor. The pain bloomed fast, but the humiliation hit harder. Standing in front of me, hands still raised, was Ethan Park, my ex-boyfriend of 3 years, the one I'd quietly broken up with 6 months ago when he moved to Busan for a better opportunity. Apparently that opportunity had circled back to Seoul, because here he was, newly hired as the lead graphic designer on my team. His face was twisted in fury, eyes narrowed. "You think you can just ghost me and then act like nothing happened when I walk in here?" he shouted, voice loud enough for the entire floor to hear. "You owe me an explanation, Min Jae." Conversations died. Phones lowered. Even the printers seemed to pause mid-whir. I touched my cheek, feeling the heat under my fingertips. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I forced my voice steady. "Ethan, this is my workplace. We can talk later." "Later?" He laughed bitterly. "Like all those laters you promised when you stopped answering my calls? You used me, climbed the ranks on my ideas, and then tossed me aside the second you didn't need me anymore." That wasn't true, not even close, but the accusation landed like another slap. Whispers started rippling through the cubicles. I bent to gather the spilled papers, trying to keep what little dignity I had left. My hands shook. I could feel dozens of eyes on me, judging, gossiping already. That's when the elevator dinged. The doors slid open and the entire floor seemed to inhale at once. Out stepped Lu Han, tall, impeccably suited, dark hair swept back, that quiet commanding presence that made people straighten their spines without him saying a word. The CEO of Apex Media. My boss. My husband. We'd kept it secret for 2 years. No rings at work, no shared last names on org charts, no photos on desks. It had started as protection. His family's board was conservative, and I was just a mid-level strategist when we met. By the time we married in a quiet ceremony in Jeju, the habit of secrecy had stuck. Only our closest friends knew. Han's sharp gaze swept the floor, landing immediately on me, on my reddened cheek, on Ethan's still looming aggressively, on the scattered files. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. He didn't rush. He never rushed. But every step he took toward us was deliberate, shoes silent on the marble. The crowd parted like they always did. Ethan noticed the shift in attention too late. He turned, realized who was approaching, and faltered. "Mr. Liu, I..." Han stopped a foot away, eyes flicking to Ethan's raised hand, then to my face. His jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly, but I knew that look. Fury, iced over. "Meeting room 3, Han said, voice calm but caring. Both of you." Ethan opened his mouth, probably to explain or defend himself, but one cool glance from Han shut it. I nodded silently and followed as Han turned on his heel. The walk to the meeting room felt endless. I could feel the stairs burning into my back. Phones were definitely out now, someone was recording, I was sure of it. By lunch, this would be all over the company group chats. Inside the glass-walled room, Han closed the door and flicked the privacy switch. The glass frosted instantly. Ethan started immediately. "Sir, I apologize for the disruption. It was personal, he and I dated and he ended things badly. I overreacted." Han didn't look at him yet. He stepped close to me instead, tilting my chin gently with 2 fingers to examine my cheek. His touch was featherlight, but his eyes were thunder. "Does it hurt?" he asked quietly just for me. I swallowed. "A little." His thumb brushed the skin below the mark, and for a second the mask slipped, raw worry and anger flashing across his face. Then he dropped his hand and turned to Ethan. "Mr. Park," Han said, voice still controlled, "you've been with us less than a week. In that time, have you read the employee handbook section on workplace conduct?" Ethan shifted. "Yes, sir." "Then you're aware that physical assault on company premises is grounds for immediate termination." Ethan paled. It was one slap he provoked. I wasn't asking for justification, Han cut in smoothly. I was confirming you understand the policy you just violated. Ethan's mouth opened and closed. He looked at me suddenly as if expecting backup. I stayed silent. Han continued, security will escort you to collect your belongings. HR will process your termination by end of day. You'll receive 2 weeks severance and a neutral reference, provided you leave quietly. You can't, Ethan started, voice rising. I can, Han said simply. And I am. Ethan stared between us, something shifting in his expression, confusion turning to suspicion. Why are you so protective of him? He's just a mid-level. Han's eyes narrowed. Min Jae is my husband. The words dropped into the room like a detonation. Ethan froze. His gaze darted to me, wide with disbelief. What? I met his eyes steadily. We've been married for 2 years. The color drained completely from Ethan's face. He looked like he might actually faint. Han stepped slightly in front of me, protective without thinking. Anything else you'd like to say, Mr. Park? Ethan shook his head mutely. Good. Han pressed the intercom. Security to meeting room 3. The door opened minutes later. 2 guards appeared. Ethan didn't resist. He walked out in stunned silence, head down. When the door closed again, Han turned back to me. The frost melted from his expression instantly. He cupped my face with both hands now, thumbs stroking gently. I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner. You couldn't have known, I whispered. I should have been. He leaned in and pressed the softest kiss to the corner of my mouth, careful not to aggravate the sting. Come upstairs with me. I nodded. There was no hiding anymore, not after this. As we left the meeting room, the entire floor watched us. Han's hand settled lightly at the small of my back, possessive, reassuring. Whispers exploded the second we passed. We took the private elevator to the executive floor. The doors had barely closed before Han pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly. I should have announced it years ago, he murmured against my hair. No one would have dared touch you. I buried my face in his shoulder, breathing in the familiar scent of his cologne. It's okay. It's out now. He pulled back just enough to kiss me properly, slow, deep, pouring every ounce of apology and love into it. My fingers curled into his lapels as I kissed him back, the sting on my cheek forgotten. When the elevator opened on the top floor, his assistant gaped at us, hand in hand, my lipstick slightly smudged on Han's mouth. Han didn't let go. Let HR know, he told her calmly, that Min Jae and I are married. Update all internal records. And schedule an all-hands meeting for tomorrow morning. She nodded rapidly, eyes wide. Han led me into his corner office, closed the door, and locked it. For the next hour, the company buzzed with the news. By the time we emerged, my cheek iced, his tie slightly askew, the entire building knew. Ethan's slap had backfired spectacularly. And somehow, holding Han's hand openly as we walked back to the elevator, I couldn't bring myself to regret it. The next morning, I woke up to Han's arm draped heavily across my waist and the soft buzz of his phone on the nightstand. He groaned, reached for it blindly, and silenced it without opening his eyes. Then he pulled me closer, lips brushing my neck. 5 more minutes, he mumbled. I smiled into his shoulder. You have an all-hands in 2 hours. The entire company is waiting to hear their CEO confirm he's married to a mid-level strategist. He huffed a laugh. Let them wait. But we both knew we couldn't. By 7 a.m. we were showered, dressed, and in the back of his car. Han held my hand the entire drive, thumb tracing slow circles over my knuckles like he was afraid I'd vanish if he let go. The building lobby was already alive when we arrived. Heads turned the second we stepped out of the elevator together, Han in his usual charcoal suit, me in navy, our fingers intertwined. No one spoke. A few people actually bowed deeper than usual. The marketing floor was worse. My teammates stared openly as I walked to my desk. Someone had left a single red rose on my keyboard. Another had taped a handmade, "Congratulations," sign to my monitor. My work best friend launched herself at me for a hug the moment I sat down. You absolute idiot, she hissed in my ear. 2 years? 2 years and you never told me Lu Han was your husband? I'm sorry, I whispered back, laughing despite myself. She pulled away, eyes shining. I'm not mad. I'm impressed. You kept the biggest secret in the company. Also, your husband fired your ex in front of everyone. That was hot. I rolled my eyes, but my cheeks burned. The all-hands meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. in the main auditorium. Han had asked me to stand with him on stage. I tried to refuse, he was the one who needed to speak, but he'd given me that quiet, immovable look. I'm not doing this alone, he'd said last night. We're in this together now. So there I was, beside him under the bright lights, facing 500 employees packed shoulder to shoulder. Phones were out immediately. This would be all over social media by lunch. Han stepped to the microphone first. Good morning, he began, voice steady. I owe you all an explanation for yesterday's events. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Many of you witnessed an unfortunate incident on the marketing floor. A new employee physically assaulted another staff member. That behavior is unacceptable and was dealt with immediately. He paused, letting that sink in. The staff member in question is Kim Min-jae. He turned slightly toward me. My husband. The auditorium erupted, gasps, whispers, a few actual cheers from the back. Cameras flashed. I felt my face go scarlet. Han waited for quiet. We have been married for 2 years. We chose privacy for personal reasons, but recent events have made that impossible. From today forward, Min-jae will continue in his role as senior campaign strategist. Nothing about his position or evaluation will change because of our relationship. Any concerns can be directed to HR. He glanced at me, softening. I'd like Min-jae to say a few words. I stepped forward on shaky legs. The microphone felt ice cold in my hand. Hi. My voice cracked. Great start. Thank you for the support I've seen this morning. It means a lot. I love working here, and I love my team. I'm still the same person, just apparently married to the boss. Weak laughter scattered through the room. Please don't treat me differently. And if you have gossip, send it to G1. She'll filter it for me. That got real ass. G1 Wolf whistled from row 3. I stepped back, heart racing. Han's hand found mine again immediately. Questions came fast after that, mostly harmless. How did we meet? At a charity gala 4 years ago. Where did we get married? Jeju, small ceremony. Did his family approve? Han answered that one smoothly. They do now. When it ended, the applause was thunderous. People swarmed us as we left the stage. Congratulations, handshakes, a few bold requests for selfies. Han handled it all with calm grace, keeping me close. Back on the executive floor, his assistant Soo-jin greeted us with wide eyes and a tray of coffee. The internet is exploding, sir, she said, handing Han his tablet. Hashtag Apex Ilgay wedding is trending nationwide. Han scrolled, lips twitching. At least they got the orientation right. I peeked over his shoulder. Clips from the meeting were already viral. Someone had zoomed in on our linked hands. Another had captioned Ethan's stunned face from yesterday, when you slapped the CEO's husband. My stomach twisted. Ethan's going to see all this. Han's expression darkened. He made his choices. But the day wasn't over. At noon, HR called me in. Apparently Ethan had filed a formal complaint overnight, claiming unfair termination due to personal bias. I sat across from Director Park, stomach nodding. He says Mr. Liu only fired him because of your prior relationship, she explained carefully. And that the marriage reveal proves conflict of interest. That's ridiculous, I said. Han fired him for assault. There's video. She nodded. There is. Multiple angles. We're rejecting the complaint. But he's threatening legal action. I exhaled slowly. He won't win. No, she agreed. But he might drag your name through the mud to save face. When I told Han, his face went perfectly still. He won't get the chance, he said quietly. That afternoon, a press release went out from Apex Legal. Confirmation of the marriage, condemnation of workplace violence, and a statement that any further harassment of employees would be met with legal action. By 5 p.m., Ethan's LinkedIn was scrubbed of Apex references. His personal social media went private. I thought that might be the end of it. I was wrong. At 7 p.m., just as Han and I were leaving the office, together, openly for the first time, an unknown number texted me. It was a photo, me and Han kissing in his office yesterday, taken through the window with a zoom lens. Below it, careful. Secrets don't stay secret forever. My blood ran cold. Han saw my face and took the phone. His jaw clenched as he read. Paparazzi? I asked. Or someone closer, he said grimly. Either way, this ends now. He forwarded the message to our security team, then pulled me into the elevator. As the doors closed, he cupped my face, gentle, fierce. No one threatens you, he said against my lips. Not again. He kissed me deeply, possessively, until the elevator dinged at the garage. Outside, real photographers waited, flashes popping as we emerged hand in hand. Han didn't flinch. He paused, turned to them, and spoke clearly. Yes, we're married. Yes, we're happy. Thank you for your interest. Then he guided me into the car, shielding me with his body. As we pulled away, I looked back at the crowd. Someone in the shadows was watching, hood up, phone raised. I couldn't see their face. But I knew this wasn't over. The photo arrived again at 2:14 a.m. Same unknown number. This time it was a grainy shot of Han and me leaving a quiet restaurant in Itaewon last year, our first anniversary. We were laughing, his arm around my waist, my head on his shoulder. No one else in the frame. Whoever took it had been close. The caption, sweet memories. Shame if they went public the wrong way. I sat up in bed so fast the sheets tangled around my legs. Han stirred beside me, instantly alert. What is it? His voice was rough with sleep, but his eyes sharpened the second he saw my phone. He read the message, expression turning lethal. Without a word, he forwarded it to security, then to his personal lawyer. Then he pulled me against his chest, hands stroking my back in slow, grounding circles. Sleep, he murmured. I'll handle this. But I didn't sleep. I lay there listening to his heartbeat, mind racing. Paparazzi didn't usually text threats. This felt personal. Morning brought no answers, only more chaos. Headlines exploded across every portal. Apexo's secret gay marriage exposed after dramatic office slap. From cubicle to corner office, the hidden husband of Lu Han. One trashy site had already dug up Ethan's old Instagram posts, splicing them with clips of the slap and Han firing him. They painted Ethan as the jilted lover seeking justice. Comments were brutal, half defending him, half calling him delusional. I scrolled in the car on the way to work, stomach churning. Han plucked the phone from my hand. Don't read that garbage. People think you only promoted me because we're together, I said quietly. He met my eyes. You were promoted 6 months before we even started dating. Facts don't care about gossip. Still a stung. At the office, the mood had shifted. Congratulations still came, but now laced with curiosity, some genuine, some calculating. A few senior directors who'd always been cool toward me suddenly smiled too wide. Others avoided eye contact. G1 cornered me at the coffee station. Okay, spill, she demanded. Who's sending the creepy texts? I glanced around, no one close. You know already? Everyone knows. Security's been questioning people all morning. Also, your husband looks like he's one bad email away from murdering someone. I sighed. We got another photo last night. Old one. Her eyes widened. Stalker. Or Ethan trying to scare us. She scoffed. Ethan's too sloppy for this level of creep. He just drunk text you at 3 a.m. Maybe. But I couldn't shake the feeling someone was watching. Mid-morning, Han called me upstairs. His office was packed. Head of security, 2 lawyers, and a private investigator he'd hired overnight. The PI, a sharp-eyed woman named Choi, laid out printouts on the desk. Photos are taken with a high-end telephoto lens, she said. Different dates, different locations. Whoever this is has been following you for months, possibly longer. My skin crawled. Han's hand found mine under the table, squeezing. Phone number is a burner, she continued. Registered yesterday, used only for those 2 texts. We're tracing the purchase, but it'll take time. One lawyer spoke up. We can file for a restraining order against Ethan Park preemptively. Tie it to the assault and harassment claims. Do it, Han said immediately. Choi nodded. I've also pulled building security footage from yesterday. Someone in a black hoodie was on the executive floor after hours. Face obscured, but height and build don't match Park. Not Ethan. The meeting wrapped with plans. Increased security detail, new phone numbers, sweeping our apartment for bugs. Han insisted I move into his office temporarily, better sight lines, he said. I didn't argue. Lunch was delivered upstairs. We ate in silence until Han pushed his plate aside and pulled me onto his lap. I hate this, he said against my neck. You should be enjoying our coming out, not hiding from threats. I turned to face him, cupping his jaw. We're together. That's what matters. He kissed me then, slow, desperate, like he needed to prove I was still here. My fingers threaded through his hair as I kissed him back, pouring every reassurance I had into it. His hands tightened on my waist, pulling me closer until there was no space left between us. When we broke apart, foreheads resting together, both of us were breathing hard. I love you, he whispered. I love you too. The moment shattered when Soo-jin buzzed the intercom. Sir, your mother is here. Han froze. His mother, Chairwoman Liu, majority shareholder, and the reason we'd kept our marriage secret for so long. She'd only met me twice, both times briefly, and never knew we'd married. Han stood, setting me gently on my feet. Stay here. No, I said firmly. We face this together. He looked like he wanted to argue, but nodded. We walked to the executive lounge hand in hand. Chairwoman Liu stood by the window, elegant, silver-haired, posture perfect. She turned as we entered, eyes flicking to our joined hands, then to my face. Han, she said coolly. Explain. Han didn't flinch. Mother, this is Kim Min-jae. My husband. We've been married 2 years. Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. I read the news. I hoped it was exaggerated. It's not. She studied me then, really looked. I bowed deeply. Hello, Chairwoman. It's an honor. She inclined her head slightly. You're younger than I expected. Han's grip tightened. Age isn't relevant. And his position? She asked. Convenient. Min-jae earned every promotion, Han said, voice edged. Long before we were together. She was silent a long moment. Then, the board is restless. Stock dipped 3% this morning. Conservative investors don't like surprises. Han's jaw set. The company is stronger than gossip. Perhaps. She picked up her bag. We'll speak at the family dinner tomorrow night. Bring him. It wasn't a request. After she left, Han pulled me into his arms again. She'll come around, I said, though I wasn't sure. He exhaled. She has to. The rest of the day blurred. Meetings, emails, sideways glances. By evening, security escorted us to the car. No photographers tonight, but I still felt watched. At home, Han double-checked locks and alarms while I showered. When I came out, he was on the balcony, city lights reflecting in his eyes. I wrapped my arms around him from behind. What are you thinking? That I should have protected you better, he said quietly. I turned him to face me. You are protecting me. Every day. He kissed me then, soft at first, then deeper, hungrier. My back met the glass door as his hands framed my face, thumbs tracing my cheekbones like he was memorizing me. I melted into him, fingers clutching his shirt, letting the kiss say everything words couldn't. When we pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. Tomorrow, he said, we find out who's behind this. And we end it. I nodded. But as we went inside, my phone buzzed on the counter. Another message. This time, a video clip, Han proposing to me on the beach in Jeju, rings sliding onto my finger, both of us crying. The text, such a beautiful moment. Be a shame if the world saw how much you're worth to him. Han saw it over my shoulder. His face went white with rage. Then he smiled, cold and dangerous. Good, he said. They just made their first mistake. The next morning, Han was already dressed when I woke, black suit, no tie, sleeves rolled up like he was ready for war. He stood at the kitchen island with the PI, Choi, and 2 security men, voices low. I caught the tail end as I walked in. Bait tonight at the dinner, Han was saying. We let them think we're distracted. If they follow, we take them. Choi nodded. I'll have 3 teams in rotation. Plain clothes, unmarked cars. They won't spot us. Han turned when he heard me. His expression softened instantly. Morning. Coffee. I nodded, but my stomach was too knotted for food. Tonight was the family dinner with his mother, and apparently now a sting operation. He poured me a cup anyway, then pulled me aside while the others stepped onto the balcony. We think the stalker will try again tonight, he said quietly. Old photos are one thing. Fresh ones of us arriving at the Liu estate? That's gold to them. They'll risk it. And if it's someone inside the family? I asked. The thought had kept me up half the night. His jaw tightened. Then we know who we can't trust. The day passed in a blur of preparation. Han moved meetings around so we could leave early. Security swept our car twice. Choi gave me a tiny tracker pin disguised as a cufflink, just in case. At 6 p.m. we pulled up to the Liu family estate in the hills outside Seoul. Iron gates, manicured gardens, the kind of old money that didn't need to shout. Photographers were already camped at the entrance, but security kept them back. Han squeezed my hand as we stepped out. Flashes popped anyway. Smile, he murmured. We're happy newlyweds tonight. I managed it. Barely. Inside, the house was all dark wood and silk screens. Chairwoman Liu waited in the foyer, flanked by Han's older sister, Liu Mei, and his uncle, Director Liu Jian, board member and perpetual thorn in Han's side. Mei hugged Han warmly, then turned to me with a genuine smile. Finally. I've been dying to meet the man who tamed my brother. Uncle Jian's greeting was cooler, a nod, a quick appraisal. So this is the strategist. Chairwoman Liu didn't speak until we were seated in the formal dining room, crystal and porcelain gleaming under chandeliers. Dinner began in tense silence. Servants brought course after course, abalone soup, grilled hanwoo, delicate banchan. I barely tasted any of it. Finally, the chairwoman set down her chopsticks. Han, she said, the board wants assurances. Your personal life cannot affect company decisions. Han's voice was even. It hasn't. Min Jae's performance reviews are public record. Higher than most directors, in fact. Uncle Jian snorted softly. Convenient timing, the marriage reveal right after an assault by his ex-lover. My fork paused midair. Han's eyes flashed. The assault was on my husband. The timing was forced by violence, not convenience. Mei shot her uncle a warning look. Let's not ruin dinner. But Jian leaned forward. I'm simply saying, nepotism accusations are damaging. Perhaps Min Jae should step back from sensitive projects until the gossip dies. Han's hand found my knee under the table, grounding me. Min Jae leads the Q3 global campaign, Han said. It's already 40% ahead of projections. Removing him would cost millions. The chairwoman watched us both. And if the stalker leaks more photos? Private ones? I felt Han tense. We're handling it, he said. Are you? Jian raised an eyebrow. Because I've heard rumors. Someone's selling intimate images of the CEO to tabloids. How much are they asking? Han went very still. You've heard rumors. Jian shrugged. Board members talk. Mei looked uncomfortable. The chairwoman's expression was unreadable. I excused myself to the restroom, needing air. In the hallway, I leaned against the cool wall, heart pounding. That's when I heard voices, low, from a side room. Price went up after the proposal video, a man was saying. Not Jian. Younger. Familiar? Double if we get something from tonight. Inside the house. Another voice. Too risky. Security's everywhere. Jian said the West Garden is blind. 10 minutes, tops. My blood froze. I slipped back to the dining room, catching Han's eye. Subtle nod toward the hall. He understood immediately. "Excuse us," Han said smoothly, standing. "Min Jae isn't feeling well. We'll step outside for air." The chairwoman frowned but didn't stop us. We walked casually through French doors into the garden, lit softly by lanterns, wisteria heavy in the air. Han's arm stayed around my waist. "West side," I whispered. "Two men. Mention Jian." His grip tightened. "Stay close." We drifted along the path like we were just taking a romantic stroll. Han texted one-handed coordinates to Choi. Minutes later, shadows moved near the koi pond. Fush, then chaos. Security swarmed from 3 directions. Shouts. A scuffle. 2 men in dark clothing, pinned fast. But the third, running, tripped over a hidden wire Choi's team had set. When they flipped him over, I gasped. It was Soo Jin's assistant, Tae-min. The quiet intern who'd been fetching coffee for months. Han's face was stone. "Take them to the security office." Inside, the dinner table went silent as security marched the 3 men through the house, hands zip-tied. Uncle Jian stood. "What is the meaning?" Han cut him off. "Your name was mentioned, Uncle. Care to explain why paparazzi were quoting you about blind spots in your sister's garden?" Jian paled. I don't." The chairwoman rose slowly. "Jian. Office. Now." May looked stunned. I felt numb. In the study 20 minutes later, Tae-min cracked immediately. "Director Liu approached me 3 months ago," he sobbed. "Said if I fed photos to his contact, he'd fund my startup." Then it escalated, burners, threats, everything to force the marriage public and make Han look unstable. Make the board doubt him. Jian tried to deny it, but Choi laid out the evidence: bank transfers, encrypted chats, even a draft press release titled, "Apex CEO's Scandalous Secret Life." The chairwoman's voice was ice. "You risked this family's legacy for a board seat?" Jian had nothing left to say. Security took him too, for the police this time. When it was over, the chairwoman turned to me. "I misjudged you," she said quietly. "Both of you. I'm sorry." Then, to my shock, she pulled me into a brief, stiff hug. Han exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. Outside, under the lanterns, he pulled me close. "It's over," he whispered. I nodded against his chest, tears coming suddenly. He tilted my face up, thumbs brushing them away, and kissed me, slow, deep, unhurried. No cameras, no threats, just us. When we pulled apart, May was watching from the door, smiling softly. "Welcome to the family, Min Jae," she called. For the first time in days, I laughed. As we drove home, security convoy gone, city lights blurring past, I laced my fingers with Han's. "No more secrets," I said. He brought my hand to his lips. "None." But even as peace settled, my phone buzzed. One last message, from Ethan. "I heard what happened. I'm sorry. For everything." I showed Han. He read it, then deleted the thread. "Let him go," he said gently. I nodded. The past was finally behind us. Or so I thought. 3 months later, I woke to sunlight pouring through the penthouse windows and the smell of fresh coffee drifting from the kitchen. Han's side of the bed was still warm. He couldn't have been up long. I padded barefoot down the hallway and found him at the island, shirtless, hair tousled, scrolling through his tablet with one hand and holding a mug with the other. The city skyline glittered behind him like a postcard. He looked up and smiled, the soft, private one he saved just for me. "Morning, husband." The words still sent a quiet thrill through me every time he said it. "Morning," I answered, sliding onto the stool beside him. He immediately pushed a second mug toward me, already fixed exactly how I liked it: oat milk, 1 sugar. I took a sip, then glanced at the tablet. Stock prices. Apex was up 8% since the scandal broke and resolved itself. The headlines had shifted from "CEO's Secret Marriage" to "Liu Han's Decisive Leadership Saves Company from Internal Sabotage." Uncle Jian's arrest for corporate espionage and harassment had been the final nail. "How's the board?" I asked. "Quiet," he said, satisfied. Mother removed Jian's allies in the last meeting. Mei's taking his seat temporarily. I nodded. Chairwoman Liu had called me personally 2 weeks after the dinner, invited me to tea, just the two of us. It had been awkward at first, but by the end she'd handed me a family heirloom jade bracelet and said, "You protected my son better than I did. Welcome home." I still got emotional thinking about it. Han set the tablet aside and turned to face me fully. "Big day today." My stomach flipped. Yeah. Today was my first day in the new role, Vice President of Global Strategy. The promotion had come straight from the board, unanimous vote, no input from Han. He'd actually recused himself from the discussion to avoid any appearance of favoritism. I'd spent the last month preparing, terrified I'd imposter syndrome myself into a meltdown. But the campaigns I'd led had delivered record numbers, and the board wanted fresh vision. Han had only smiled when I told him and said, "I always knew you'd outrank me one day." He reached for my hand now, thumb brushing over the platinum band on my ring finger. We'd started wearing them openly after everything settled. "You nervous?" he asked. "Terrified," I admitted. "Good. Means you care." He leaned in and kissed me, slow, lingering, tasting of coffee and promise. My fingers curled into his hair as I kissed him back, heat building until he pulled away with a reluctant groan. "We'll be late if we keep that up." I laughed against his mouth. "Worth it." But we behaved. Barely. The office arrival was surreal. Security greeted us both by name now. The lobby had a new digital display cycling company milestones, one frame frozen on a photo from the all-hands 3 months ago. Han and me on stage, hands linked, smiling like we'd won the world. My new office was on the executive floor, 2 doors down from Han's, with a view almost as good. The team had decorated overnight, balloons, a ridiculous VP Min Jae, sash across my chair, and a cake that read, "Congrats to the boss's boss." Juan was waiting inside, grinning like a maniac. "Welcome to the dark side," she said, hugging me tight. "I'm your new executive assistant. Deal with it." I blinked. When did that happen? Yesterday. I applied, interviewed, and threatened to quit if they didn't give it to me. She shrugged. "You need someone who knows where all your bodies are buried." Han appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame with amusement. She beat out 12 external candidates. I stayed out of it. Of course she did. The morning flew, handovers, briefings, a board welcome lunch where the chairwoman herself toasted my appointment. By afternoon I was buried in Q4 projections, loving every second. At 6 p.m. Han texted, "Rooftop." I found him up there alone, city lights starting to flicker on below us. A blanket was spread out, picnic basket open, jjajangmyeon from our favorite hole-in-the-wall, soju, even the cheap plastic chopsticks we'd used on our first date. "What is this?" I asked, laughing as he pulled me down beside him. "Celebration," he said simply. "First day as VP. And 6 months since the slap that changed everything." I settled against his side, the wind cool around us. I still can't believe it all started with Ethan's hand on my cheek. Han's arm tightened around me. I can. Best thing that ever happened to us. Forced us out of hiding. We ate in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sunset bleed into night. Then he shifted, pulling something from his pocket, a small velvet box. My heart stopped. "Han." He opened it. Inside was a new ring, thinner platinum band, engraved on the inside with our wedding date and a single word, "Forever." "I know we're already married," he said quietly, "but I never got to propose properly in public. I want the world to see this one too." He slid it onto my finger beside the original band. Perfect fit. I stared at it, throat tight. "You planned this?" "Since the day you said yes in Jeju." His voice was rough. "I just waited until we could wear them without fear." Tears blurred my vision. I cupped his face and kissed him, deep, grateful, pouring every ounce of love I felt into it. His hands framed my waist, pulling me closer until I was half in his lap, the city forgotten. When we broke apart, foreheads pressed together, he whispered, "Marry me again?" "Yes," I laughed through tears. 1,000 times yes. We stayed up there until the stars came out, trading kisses and quiet promises, the weight of the past finally, truly gone. Later that night, back in our bed, wrapped in each other's arms, I traced the new ring on his finger, matching engraving. "No more secrets," I murmured against his skin. "None," he agreed, kissing my temple. And for the first time in years, I believed it completely. But life, as always, had one more surprise waiting. The next morning, my phone buzzed with an email from an unknown address. Subject: "Congratulations on the promotion." Attachment: a single photo. Han and me on the rooftop last night, kissing under the stars, rings glinting. No text. No threat. Just proof that someone had been watching. I showed Han. His face went carefully blank. Then he smiled, slow, sharp, unafraid. "Let them watch," he said, pulling me back into bed. "We have nothing left to hide." And as he kissed me, deep, claiming, full of fire, I realized he was right. Whoever it was, whatever they wanted, they were too late. We were free. 1 year later. The beach in Jeju was exactly as I remembered it: golden sand, turquoise waves, the same warm wind that had carried Han's proposal 2 years earlier. But this time, everything was different. White chairs lined the shore in perfect rows. Lanterns hung from driftwood arches. Our closest friends and family, 50 people total, filled the seats, dressed in soft linens and summer pastels. Jun was already crying in the front row, clutching a handkerchief like it owed her money. May sat beside her, elegant in pale blue, smiling at something the chairwoman whispered in her ear. And at the end of the petal-strewn aisle stood Han. In white. No suit. No tie. Just a simple linen shirt, sleeves rolled, trousers cuffed against the sand. He looked younger, lighter, like the weight of every secret we'd ever carried had finally lifted. I stood at the top of the path, heart pounding so hard I was sure the ocean could hear it. My own white outfit matched his, tailored shorts, loose shirt, barefoot. In my pocket, the new ring from the rooftop glinted beside the original. Music started, soft acoustic guitar, our song from the night we first admitted we were in love. I walked alone. No one to give me away, because I'd chosen this freely, fully, openly. Every step down the aisle, eyes met mine with nothing but joy. No whispers. No judgment. Just love. When I reached Han, he didn't wait for the officiant. He took both my hands immediately, thumbs brushing over my knuckles like he couldn't believe I was real. "You're beautiful," he whispered, voice thick. "So are you," I managed, eyes already stinging. The officiant, a close friend from university, smiled and began. "We're here today not to bind two people who were ever truly apart, but to celebrate a love that was brave enough to hide when it had to, and bold enough to step into the light when it was time." Han's grip tightened. We'd written our own vows. Han went first. "Min Jae," he said, voice carrying over the waves, "I promised you forever in secret once. Today I promise it in front of the world. I vow to choose you every day, through board meetings and bad coffee, through storms and silences. I vow to protect your heart the way you've always protected mine. And I vow never again to let fear keep us in shadows." His eyes shone, but he didn't look away. My turn. "Han," I started, voice shaking, "you saw me when I felt invisible. You loved me when I thought I wasn't enough. You gave me courage I didn't know I had. I vow to stand beside you, not behind, not in secret, but equal always. I vow to laugh with you in the sunlight and hold you in the dark. And I vow that no matter what comes next, we face it together." We exchanged rings, new ones this time, thicker platinum, engraved with today's date and the coordinates of this exact beach. When the officiant said, "You may kiss," Han didn't hesitate. He cupped my face gently, like I was the most precious thing in his world, and kissed me, deep, slow, full of every promise we'd just made. I wrapped my arms around his neck, kissing him back with everything I had, the ocean roaring approval behind us. Cheers erupted. Ji-won sobbed loudly. Someone popped champagne. We pulled apart laughing, foreheads pressed together. "Husband," he murmured. "Husband," I answered. The reception was small and perfect, long tables on the sand, fairy lights, seafood grilled over open flames. Speeches were short and heartfelt. May teased Han about finally learning to relax. The chairwoman, elegant in cream silk, stood last. She looked at me directly. "To my son-in-law," she said, raising her glass. "Thank you for teaching this family what real strength looks like." I had to blink hard after that. Later, when the sun dipped low and most guests were dancing barefoot to the live band, Han pulled me away down the beach. We walked until the music faded, just the waves and us. He stopped, turned to me. "One more thing." From his pocket he pulled a small envelope. Inside, 2 plane tickets. Bali. Tomorrow. Honeymoon, he said, grinning. 2 weeks. No phones. No meetings. Just us. I laughed, throwing my arms around him. "You planned this?" May helped. "Ji-won packed your bag." I kissed him again, quick, joyful. Then I noticed something in the sand. Fresh footprints, leading away toward the rocks. And a camera lens glinting in the fading light. I tensed. Han followed my gaze. For a moment we both froze. Then he smiled, slow, certain. He turned me toward him, blocking the view completely. "Let them take their pictures," he said softly. "Let the whole world see." He kissed me again, deeper this time, hands in my hair, body pressed close. I melted into him, fingers clutching his shirt, giving everything to the kiss. The emotion between us surged, relief, triumph, love so fierce it felt endless. When we broke apart, the footprints were gone. The lens too. Maybe it had been nothing. Maybe it had been everything. It didn't matter anymore. We walked back to the party hand in hand, rings catching the lantern light. Later that night, in our private villa overlooking the sea, we celebrated in the way only husbands can, slow, tender, wrapped in each other until dawn painted the sky pink. No secrets. No fear. Just us. The next morning, a photo hit the internet, taken from afar, but clear. Han and me on the beach, mid-kiss, silhouettes against the sunset. Headline: Apex Power Couple Renews Vows in Dream Jeju Ceremony. Comments poured in, thousands of hearts, congratulations, love. And one anonymous post. "They look happy. Finally." I showed Han over breakfast on the balcony. He read it, then closed the phone. He pulled me into his lap, arms around me tight. "They're right," he said against my neck. "We are." I turned to kiss him, soft, lingering, tasting salt and coffee and forever. Thank you for watching, everyone. I also want to hear your thoughts about this story, and as you do so, don't forget to subscribe, like and share for more amazing BL stories.